Right, so time trials. You have to get first in every time trial to 100% the game, and if you do this, getting first in every single time trial, you also get the Esperante GTR 1 for free. It just goes into your garage for simulation mode. The special thing about these, compared to like license tests, is that you always have the active stability management and the traction control system on. So ASM and TCS are on for all these trials, which is a good and a bad thing. So we just need a 125.5. Right, so we'll try braking with the car straight at the curb, and then turn in, apply the throttle. Now, that was not perfect, but it doesn't matter too much. Even in auto, if you hold L2 or R2, you stay in the gear you're at. So you can use that before the gear changes to gain a bit of speed extra early when going on a main straight. Did brake a bit too hard there, but try to stay on the inside. Your rear will slip out there actually if you try to go on the inside like that. And then try to avoid the curb. We want to be as close to it without actually really touching it. We touch it at the end there, but we try to cut this bit as much as possible without failing. And then straighten up the car. You have to make sure the car is straight, and then brake. And then try to use as much road as possible for this bit. Really should always try to do that, but for that last chicane, or whatever it is, there's nothing else you really need to do but try to just do it smoothly. Honestly, this was pretty bad, but it was good enough to win the trial. So, like, you could see I made a mistake in pretty much every corner. I don't think I did a single corner perfectly. But that just goes to show that even if you're not exceptionally good at this game, you actually, if you just try and you know what you're supposed to do, you can do a lot better than some of the drivers did in this trial setting thing. Trial mountain in the Miata. The trick to this is to just try to not lose too much speed. You'll spend a lot of the track going full throttle. So, like for this first section, don't brake or anything. Use as much road as possible so you don't go too far off the track. And then brake a little bit here. I'm not perfect at this corner, but you kind of want to be where that curb is on the inside, so that you're better set up for this, which is a bit more tricky. That corner might take you a lot of practice. That's a very important one. If you don't do that well, that's probably a good point to restart. This is also very, very important. So, what's important here is exit speed, nothing else. So even if you brake a bit too much early and then go out full throttle, it's better than if you try to gun it, go too wide, and then brake at the end of that corner. You want to be as high speed as possible at the start of that so you can carry that speed through till the end. Turn in. I brake about here. Like, I try to base it off of the actual yellow thing where my car is. I like to stay on the inside there. You could go wider, but it's a lot riskier and takes a lot more like difficulty to execute. And for here, again, just try to not lose too much speed as possible. You don't want to like slam the brakes at these corners. This is a very tricky corner, because if you don't do it right, you lose a lot of time. Again, exit speed here is super important, because now you're pretty much full throttle till the end. Turn in smoothly, and turn back smoothly. Straighten up the car. And we got first. Alright, now we've got the Tokyo R246 time trial in the Honda S2000 Type V. And it's a street circuit, so we have the opportunity to ride some walls, which can help you out. So we need a 202. 202.2. This first section, very important. Brake about there. Try to not touch the wall. Try to carry as much speed as possible. And exit speed is very important. And you can throw your car through this second bit. So pretty good. Now we want to try stay where the curb is, as close to the curb as possible. And then full throttle on the exit. Ideally, you would go all the way like wide, like use as much acceleration as possible. This is also very crucial to get this right, as much exit speed as possible. Because you have like a main straight here, and you'll be carrying full speed through the chicane until the end. Now there is a pretty risky trick you can do to the wall here, but I'm just going to do this corner normally. Brake straight, and then turn in, and then apply the throttle. And then turn without even changing anything. The car's not too fast here, so you just full throttle, turn into that corner, keep full throttle through here. If you're bad at this corner, you can always hug the wall to the right here and just... As long as you don't slam into it, you can just do that, and it's better than failing to do the corner. And then now I stay on the inside here, which you probably shouldn't do, but the car's not fast enough, I think, to take advantage of all the road on the outside there. It's like too wide. So I just... It's safer to brake and then stay in the center. And we beat the guy by like a second, so that's cool. Time trial for Deep Forest Raceway in the Skyline. This shouldn't be too difficult. So again, try to focus on smooth driving rather than anything too ambitious. It's mostly true for this middle section. Like I'll let off the throttle there a little bit just to make sure my car's in like a good position where the racing line is. Let off the throttle here because you want a lot of power through the tunnel without having to like turn away from the tunnel there, because you can carry all that speed through here. Let off the throttle and then apply it again when you're going downhill, and then you can full throttle that whole section and turn in. If you slow down enough, then you full throttle all of that, and then you can see you carry through the most speed you possibly can for this whole section. And then all you need to really worry about is this corner here. Try to carry as much speed as possible at the exit. That's how you should be treating every corner, but the ones with the long stretches afterwards are the most important. I let off the throttle there, apply it again, and if it looks like you're going too far, let off the throttle again. Don't brake there, you'll go too slow. So we need to save about half a second, so let's do that. Probably just brake a little bit later each time. I do let off the throttle there again, just to make sure I'm in line here. Try to get a better exit. Straighten up at the exit of the tunnel. And then here I let off, and then when I'm downhill, I apply the throttle again, and just full turn this bit. And then here I'm going to lose a bit of speed, turn in, and then throttle, and turn. Those last two corners are two of the most important ones. Laguna Seca time trial in the prototype Viper GTSR. So I know what you're all thinking, the corkscrew, right? Yes, that is the most important corner, and also the corner after that is very important. But there are other important parts of the track as well. This thing is pretty much a race car, so don't underestimate it. Like I did. A car like this will get used to driving if you've been driving like just sports cars before this, like the previous ones. So it might take you a couple tries. Try to turn it on the curb there, and be on the curb on the exit there. It's the best way to do it. Brake about there at the 1 mark. Try to take it smoothly, and again try to keep on the outside. Here I just hold left when I get to the 2 marker, let go if I'm aligned with the curb, and then press it again. Hold left, and then here I brake at the 3 marker, turn in, and then straight, turn away, and then turn in, let go of the throttle there, and then turn in until I'm about this point, and then apply the throttle again. And then brake, turn in, try to cut through. And then brake. Be very careful here, very, very careful. Low throttle, and then once my car's straight, I full throttle. So we'll just try again. In closer, so I won't go full throttle at this low, like first gear in the middle of a turn, like really in the corner, just don't do that. Full throttle once you know you can. It's probably a bit later than you think. Try not to brake. You don't need to brake there, just let go of the accelerator a little bit. You can brake quite late there, turn in. Much better. And now full turn at 2. I didn't full turn actually, but that was probably better. And then now be careful. So full brake at the 3 mark, turn in, and then you have to straighten up the car before you apply full throttle. And then a let off speed here, and so I can apply it when I get grip back. When your tires stop spinning, you can go full throttle there. Lost a lot of time on that corner on the ghost we had. There we go. Honestly, wasn't even that great, but it was good enough. And it's the Castrol Tom Supra Apricot Hill Raceway time trial. So you've got to do everything while your car's going quite fast. That's basically the challenge. Stick to this curb, try to not do anything too crazy. I stay on the inside here, and then go full throttle, turn in, make sure you basically touch the curb, all these curbs, and then I brake here, turn in, and then you can go kind of wide, and then turn in sharply. Lower your speed if you're going to go too wide, and apply full throttle. Try to use as much as road as possible there. And then brake as soon as we touch the curb. Like about here, yeah. That was a bit too early, but you can correct and stabilize your car if you brake a bit early. So here we're going to make sure again, sticking to the curb, so turn in, you know, let off the throttle here, and then apply it again, and then just be very careful here. Touching the curb again. Using as much road as possible. I know I said that a lot, but that is basically what you have to do in a racing car like this. you get a lot of speed through those sections by making sure they're as smooth as possible. So yeah, we get pretty much first try. So I'll show you the telemetry on the replay, so you can see that. The Grand Valley Speedway on the Castramagan NSX. Gotta get a 148 something. Pretty much. So let's do that. Again, emphasis is doing the racing line as smoothly as possible. That's what the time trials are all about. So you want to stay where the curbs are. Turn a bit sharper than I did. That was pretty bad. Ideally there you would straighten the car up before you start braking, so you brake straight instead of the car being thrown out. Again, all this is about is try to be as smooth as possible. Slam the brakes, turning in. If your car is slow, then just like in those tight sections, and even for example here, if your car is going so fast that you're not sticking to the curb, let go of the accelerator and stay with the curb, and then get back on the accelerator for the exit. That will give you a better exit speed, which is actually very important. Carrying speed on the exit is more important at a turn like this, where you can see I have a lot of room to just accelerate in a straight line. Again, try to stay on the inside. And again, try to cut through smooth rather than jagged. At the end there, you can turn right and then slam the brakes and then accelerate. And then just full throttle the same bit. Your car's not really fast enough to not be able to make that. And you can also hold your gears, remember, even in auto. Hold your gears late for that extra straight line speed. And we won, I think barely by anything, but we still technically won on the first try, so yeah. Now we have the Swiss Alps time trial in the Impreza rally car. So, any of these windy sections where it's just comfortable to go full throttle, of course you full throttle it. And then here, full turn without braking. And as you turn into that, you actually will naturally lose speed, so you don't have to brake there. This is a bit of a different story though. Kind of turn in and then let go of the throttle. Apply it again. And then you can full throttle for this turn. Try to stay on the inside and keep it smooth. Then here you slam the brakes and turn in. And then full throttle. Like cut past that. Now you're just full throttle here, turning, trying to keep it smooth. And the main important corner is the one coming up here. So don't brake, you like turn into it first, turn into it, and then now you start braking. And then a bit wide there, but it's okay, it should be fine. Here we have to try to stay smooth. It's probably don't want to go too like aggressive in that corner like I did. So let's try that again. Need to save about 0.4 of a second. So yeah, we'll try to do this corner better. This is probably where you realistically save a bunch of time. Only need to start braking until the end of the corner there. Once the car starts turning around, I think the exit here is actually the most important part. And then flick your car in. Try to cut through the middle. And we beat that first attempt by about a second. So yeah, that corner that I said important is actually very important to throw yourself in and only brake when you really have to. But then you have to get it right for the exit. So that is a very tricky part, but practice that and it can save you quite a significant amount of time. Again, pay attention to when I brake and when I turn. You can definitely do that better than I did, but that's a pretty ideal time to brake. So now we're at the second rally car trial, the Tahiti Maze in the Lancer Evolution 6 rally car. So we have a lot more tricky sections, and if you don't really know how to do this test, I highly suggest you practice in the rally test. In particular, do the R6. That will teach you how to do the harder sections of this, and in my opinion, if you know how to drive rally in the tight hairpins in rally, like especially in Tahiti Maze, you'll be good at rallying the rest of it no problem. This test is pretty much identical to R8. Cut through the middle and your car will slide, but that's honestly fine. So you basically, you tap the brake, you throw your car through the turn, and then you manage it. So turn, brake, and then apply throttle. Turn, brake, throttle. When I say brake, I basically flick the brake. Here, I just turn full throttle, because you're on an exit here. And you can pretty much full throttle this entire bit here. I let go of the throttle a little bit to try to keep it smooth, but see there I let go too much and touched the wall on the inside, which is not good. But yeah, turn, brake, I slam the brake there, and then throttle. And then you control where you're going with the steering. So I tried it there again. If your car is like turning inwards too much, then you have to counter steer. And if your car is going too wide, then you can always turn into the corner. Here, I'm going to show you a trick. You can wall ride this bit. It's not actually that much faster than doing it perfectly, but it is more reliable. Now again, turn, brake, throttle, and now I'm just trying to control the steer there. I will show you the telemetry after this. Left, brake, throttle. I didn't actually counter steer at all there. If you do it right, you don't have to, but... Turn in, flick the brake, and then I applied the accelerator a bit, turned left, but I was going to hit the wall, so I let go of the accelerator for a bit. And now you're out here, just, again, try smooth as possible, cut through the inside. The car will slide a bit when it touches that. And then full throttle through here. Try not to slide out too much like I did, that's not good. And I think we're off by a second, like half a second, so I have to do this again. So this one is significantly more difficult than the other ones, as you can tell. So I heavily recommend practicing with the rally license tests. Alright, so this corner coming up, we full throttle it all the way. Just try to keep the control of the turn smooth. But yeah, lots of time gain there. Don't do anything too stupid here. Again, I'm failing because I'm trying to overcompensate and drive aggressively when you actually should be trying to drive as smoothly as possible. Full second ahead. I will just turn that guy off so he doesn't cut ahead of me and interrupt me. Again, do this properly or wall ride it, it's your choice. Cut through a bit slower and smoother, and then use a bit more road on the outside, and this is very tricky, so I'll go in a bit wider so I can control the exit there. That's a lot better, a lot better. And then now get used to the grip you have. Let go of the throttle as you're going through and apply it again once you see the turn to do the rest of this a lot smoother than I did. And there you go. That is much better. That is how you do it. Pretty sure that's a significant advantage over the guy in front, so yeah, let's watch this so you can see what's up. Remember again, pay close attention to the timing of the turning in, the braking, and then the accelerating. And then also, sometimes you'll see a counter steer, sometimes you won't. That just depends on how wide you're exiting the corner. if you're turning in too narrowly, you will counter steer. If not, you will just, you know, if you're going too wide, you turn into the corner more. And if you're going, like, if your car's being turned too far into the corner, more so than you want, then you obviously steer the opposite direction and try to straighten up the car on the exit. Again, look how late I go back to full throttle here. That's actually very important, because that also sets up this bit here, which is otherwise very difficult to go through full throttle to carry speed until the end. Alright, so we're at the final time trial, the complex string, which is obviously the one you should be most concerned about, but I don't want you to be, like, too intimidated by it. This doesn't mean it's impossible, it just means you need to actually try a bit harder than the previous ones. So you have to beat Kazunori Yamauchi, the creator of this game, essentially. You need to beat his time in this car, which is actually, he had a Porsche in real life, like the Porsche that this RGT, this RUF RGT is based off of. That's the lore behind this test to make it cooler. But anyway, complex string, you don't actually drive anywhere like on the complex string apart from in the license tests. So if you want to practice sections of this, this is the perfect place to do it. There you go. So IB6 and IB7. So the difference between these is the assist on and the assist off. And remember, all time trials, you have driver assist on. So for the slalom, this is literally the car you're driving with the driver assist on. So practice this, get very good at the slalom before you do it. You don't have to get gold, but I mean, at least get silver, I would recommend. Like, at least give this a good attempt to learn how to do this section properly. And that will save you a lot of hassle in the final time trial that we're doing. Then an IA license, you can practice IA7. So IA7, the section it's highlighting now is actually extremely important, because if you don't know how to do it correctly, you will be way slower than you could be going through it. You can actually tear through this section quite fast. The car you drive here, the Skyline GTR R34, is actually quite similar to the car you drive in the final time trial. It's not exactly the same, but it's like, it's a fast, powerful, heavy car. Rear-wheel drive, of course. So this is very, very good practice for that section, because that's actually a very important section. And then IA8, this actually, funny enough, does a reverse complex string section, but it still will give you a good grasp of this section of the track. How the loops aren't like perfectly circular, they change as you go through. So a good way to practice these turns is actually the A4 and A5. I know that sounds very stupid, but this actually, these and IB1 and IB2 actually teach you how to do those circular kind of loopy turns very, very, very well. So try and get good at those. These are all the sections you can practice if you're struggling really hard with this final time trial. So again, don't be too intimidated by this, don't be terrified. You do want to push the car, but again, focus first of all on smooth driving. Remember, you've got the driver assist on, so that actually helps you in some circumstances. Probably just after the 200 mark, just after it. 200 is probably a bit too early. Yeah. So even that felt quite early, but you can try to keep it smooth, a little bit of throttle, way on the outside, so I'm going to full throttle here. And then just avoid hitting the cones. Pretty bad section. These sections will all be very rusty until I practice a bit. And as I said, you will want to practice this quite a bit. For example, this section of like these square corners, there is nowhere to actually practice this. So you kind of just need to know how to do it by cutting over the curb without going too far as to failing, because you have 4 wheels off the ground. You don't really want to cut over them, but rather with 2 wheels you want to clip over them. The best way to practice this is literally to just do this and learn something new each time. Like, there is no other place where you can actually practice that turn apart from doing it there. So if you want to know how to do it right, you do want to give it some fair attempts. Rule of thumb again is to follow the curb where you can. Like here now you have to go pretty much to a standstill. Just make sure you get as close to the inside of the curb without touching any cones. Again, there is the IA8 license test where you can practice this. That is backwards, but same kind of applies. You learn more, you learn about the shape and how the shape of these roads changes. You can see this section I'm doing much better than the other sections I was doing, because I have actually done the license test a lot. So that definitely does help you. I'm really on the grass too much. Don't do that. And remember, this section coming up here as well, you can test, or you can practice in the license test. I think if you do this correctly, you can like full throttle this entire section maybe. But again, practice is very important. And it's better to not take too many risks early when you're starting to learn the circuit. Again, a section coming up where you can't really practice it apart from doing it in this race, in this test. But trying to hug the curb and then exit using as much road as possible. Bit too wide there, but very important to exit early. Gain speed early. And same with here. Don't be too fast on the entry. You want to focus more on being fast on the exit, which I didn't really do too well, but so we gotta save 3 seconds. So let's do that. So we brake a bit after the 200 meter mark. Turn in. Try and turn a bit sharply just to cut this bit a bit, otherwise you have to exit at a pretty low speed. So I try to cut that a bit. So you let go, turn in, and then apply the throttle again. Turn in, let go, apply throttle. And then if your speed is too altered, like you're going too wide or too far, you need to control it, which is what I'm failing to do there. But stick to the curb, especially on the outside here. And then 2 wheels over each corner is where you want to aim for. You want to accelerate after you're already like facing into the next turn pretty much. And then the exit here is super important, that you exit that corner fast. So that's, out of all the squares, the most important one is just that last one you need to get right, because then you carry all that speed through here. And then we brake. And then back on the speed. It's a pretty wide turn, so again, exit speed is very important when you have a long straight like this. Brake a bit. We did brake too early, but it's okay. Gives us a better chance to set up for this straight. And then brake. So we want to be kissing the curb. Obviously there's cones there, so you've got to be careful of those. But wherever there's a curb, you want to stay as close to it as possible. It is worth tapping the brake if you're going way too wide, and then slamming the throttle until you start going too wide again. Let your car maybe start to go a bit too far into the corner, and apply the throttle again. That's actually where I failed the last time, so you need to be careful there. Where there's no curb, you got to be extra careful. So you can also graze the grass a little bit, and that will help you turn in, but it does slow you down a tiny bit. Probably better to not do it there, because you have room anyway. So I'm like 5 seconds ahead, so I'm going to be pretty careful here. Let go of the throttle as the car goes uphill. Wait for the car to stabilize a bit before you apply the throttle again. If you lose speed, you can just full throttle pretty much everything though to catch up. Remember, you've got the traction control and stability management on in this car, so you can probably be kind of risky there. Exit speed, yet again, very important, because you're now full throttle until you have to turn. Try to stick to the curb and be wide for the exit there, max speed, or try to be as fast as you can. We brake and we turn in. You ideally want to kiss the curbs there. If you fly over it like that though, you have to stabilize the car by counter steering. And now we're quite far ahead, so I'll be a bit careful at this section. Now I can full throttle quite safely and just, yeah. As long as we don't crash into the wall at the end here, we are fine. This was after a really long time of not really doing anything on the complex string. And now we can watch the telemetry. Again, this is a very good demonstration of how my lap isn't even that fantastic, and yet I was able to beat the time. So even if you're not particularly that skilled at the game, you can do this, if you just practice. Again, try to just aim for the two inner wheels of the car to go over the curbs there, and that's good enough basically. And that's that. Quite an overcast sky on this level actually. There we go, we beat Yamauchi by like 3.3 seconds. You know what that means? We've done all the time trials. So we win this, the Esperante GTR 1. So you can do this at any point in the game, even before you start the career mode, and then when you go into the Gran Turismo mode or the simulation mode, whatever it's called in the region of game you're playing, you will have this car in your garage. And it may not be a very good race car, but it is a race car, so it's basically better than anything that isn't a race car, no matter how you look at it. So what can I say about the Esperante GTR 1? It is FR, naturally aspirated, and an American car. So in addition to being eligible for any race that allows any car, like the Sunday Cup, if you really wanted to start the game by getting the Esperante GTR, but this is also potentially useful for FR challenges, Stars and Stripes, and the NA race of NA Sports. You can also buy an NA tune-up Stage 2 for 14,000 credits and make a very fast car. Just make sure that your top gear is at a very high gear ratio. What if we enter it when there's no GT1? Theoretically, if you start the game with this, you have enough money to buy the NA Stage 2, and then you can do this. And then you can win the 787B, and then you can play with that, because that is a way better car than this. Yep, well, I guess I'll see you in 18 laps. So yeah, my humble advice is when you win this car, use it to win the 787B, which is just a way better race car than this one is. This race car that I'm driving is basically a we have 787B at home meme equivalent. And then you can also sell this car. Sell this Esperante. And you can keep it. You can always rebuy this. I mean, if you really wanted to. But also, if you don't need more money, you don't have to sell it. But if you actually start the game off with this thing, win the 787B with it, and then sell this. And then you can use that money to buy whatever other car you want. Look at that. Much nicer. Much nicer.